All right, guys, welcome to the Wrong End of the Snake. It's a webcast about audio touring and the relationships we have built between our road families. Tater and I have had an 18-year relationship on the Wrong End of the Snake with bands like Ted Nugent, Kid Rock, Slash, Stone Temple Pilots, Prophets of Rage, Iron Maiden, and most notably 10 years as front of house and monitor mixers for Linkin Park. My co-host, Kevin Tater McCarthy, is a world-class monitor engineer with over 30 years in the business. I'm very proud to call him my friend. He has 9 Top Dog Monitor Engineer of the Year awards and 2 Parnelli Monitor Engineer of the Year awards. I'm Ken Van Druten, aka Pooch. I am a front-of-house engineer with 3 decades in the music industry. I'm a 3-time Grammy-nominated recording engineer. I have 8 Top Dog Front-of-House Engineer of the Year awards, and I'm also a winner of the Parnelli Front-of-House Engineer of the Year award. Let's do a little housekeeping. Please use the chat window of the Zoom app to communicate amongst yourselves. If you're streaming from our YouTube channel and you want to be able to ask questions of our guests, register to be on the Zoom call for future episodes. Links to register are in all of our social media. If you have any questions for our guests, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of the Zoom app. We will answer as many questions as possible during the hour, and then answer any leftover questions in our Q&A overtime episode. Look for that to be uploaded to our YouTube channel in a few days. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and don't forget to visit our social media. YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook is at Wrong End of the Snake. Tater, why don't you tell us about our guests this week?
All right, this week we have Sherinian. Derek's a keyboard player. He's worked with some of the absolutely best musicians in the world from many genres of music. Playing with Dream Theater from 94 to 99. Went on to work with Alice Cooper, Yngwie Malmsteen, Allan Holdsworth, Lukather, Joe Bonamassa, Billy Sheehan, Zakk Wylde, Meola. For some reason, Kiss isn't on there. I don't know why. We're going to throw that in there. But he's worked with everybody. Also founding member of 2 super groups, Black Country Communion and Sons of Apollo. Let's welcome a guy I used to have to load his Akai sampler for on his tour, Sherinian.
What's up, gentlemen?
Hey, Derek, thanks for coming, man. We appreciate you giving us a little bit of your time here so close to Christmas.
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys. Happy holidays.
Yeah, happy holidays to you. How's things? How are you doing in this worldwide pandemic?
I guess the same as everyone else, just trying to get through it, stay healthy, keep my family healthy, and try to stay inspired and creative as much as possible.
Are you able to spend a bunch of time at home writing music? It looks like you have a studio going on there at home.
That's all I'm doing. I'm pretty much staying in lockdown and just treating my studio here. It's converted garage, but it's a full-on studio. And I just come in here every day and try to get stuff done, whether I'm recording, doing sessions, or writing. There's always, music to do. It's just different because through the years, you'd spend half the year in the studio and then half the year touring, and that balance was what was very cool. And so I'm just trying to learn to live without that balance until things open up for touring. Who knows when that will be? And so I'm really embracing the studio, doing a lot of practicing. I've been playing a lot of piano this year, and working on my classical, my jazz playing, and just working out a lot of kinks in my playing that I haven't had the time to really address because you have a career going. So this is a great time to really sand off some of the rough edges.
Yeah, I've been telling, a lot of our community here that watches Wrong End of the Snake are engineers. And I'm just telling them there's so many resources out there, as far as learning during this time period when we're all stuck at home. I think that when we come out of all of this, musicians and engineers, we're all going to be, hopefully we'll be better at what we do, better at our skills,
Yeah, you got to utilize the time. It would be a shame if all we did during COVID is watch Netflix and eat Haagen-Dazs.
That's right.
Which is a lot of that is going on for sure. I can't deny
it is,
but
isn't it?
it's important to stay productive. And so when stuff does open up, you hit the ground running, and no time is wasted.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm kind of living proof you can do both. We can work on our professional careers and that gallon of Haagen-Dazs at the same time.
Yeah, it's funny, when this whole thing started, I was like, well, I'll have an opportunity to be at home and, let's do all the things that I never, thought I was going to get to, and there's still a lot of things that I haven't gotten to on that list.
I'm going to be back on that bus going, damn, I should have done that one at the time.
I know. I should.
It's really.
When I was home.
I feel the worst for like my children. I have kids that are in school and they have to do homeschooling and they can't go see their friends and they're cooped up in the house, and just what a drag. And I feel bad. I mean, even if touring was to completely stop as we've known it, God forbid, at least we can all say we have 30 years behind us where we've toured the world a million times and gone through at least 2 or 3 passports, because the pages are all filled up and we can say, you know what, we did it, sent the postcard, whatever, did the whole thing. A lot of these young musicians that are aspiring to do touring, they're going to be in a whole new world. And even when stuff does open up, there's going to be so many new regulations and a lot of obstacles that we've never had to face before. So it sucks, and I feel bad for the younger people.
I got to say, I never thought of it like that. I mean, I guess we should be glad that you're right. We had that time, and because it's going to be a lot different no matter, things are going to change no matter what, and maybe we won't get the access we once had. And you're right, we've been there, done that. That's makes me feel a little better. I'm going to tell you that. Thanks for that.
No problem. I mean, I didn't mean to give like a doomsday, but I'm just trying to look at things in a positive
I'm trying to remain as positive as I can. There are people that are, shifting to all kinds of things. Like I had a friend of mine who's been my system engineer for years, called me yesterday and he's like, dude, sorry, man, I'm out. I'm done. I'm going to start. I got my own business. I'm going to start, whatever he's doing, something totally outside of this industry. And I said, all right, man, you got to do what you got to do. Hopefully maybe you'll get the bug to come back because he's really good at what he does. So that's what sucks is I think we're going to lose some guys that are super talented,
That's pivoting, by the way.
Yeah. So Derek, tell us a little bit about your past. Tell us how you got to be where you are. This whole podcast, webcast is really about relationships and how you develop those relationships over time and where you came from. And so have you been a musician all your life? Did it start when you were really young?
I found a piano book of when I started studying early on that was dated 74.
Sweet.
Which would have put me like at, around 7 years old. So I probably started studying like around 6, but I've always had a piano in the house. And when I was old enough to crawl up on the bench and start playing, that's when my mom noticed that I had an attraction, or that I was drawn to the piano. And so she found me the teacher. And then like around at 10 years old, I stopped taking lessons and got into skateboarding like all my friends, because none of my friends were playing music. And then a couple years later, I met this kid named Rick Vieira who moved across the street from me. And he was into Kiss, Black Sabbath, Aerosmith, all this hard rock music. And I was listening to it. And he played guitar. He had an electric guitar. And I thought it was really cool. And I remember that I used to play piano. So I would play he would be playing a G chord, and I knew what a G chord was on the piano. And so he goes, well, play this. And so I made that connection from taking classical piano lessons to, wait a minute, you can play rock with this also and learn rock songs. So I made that connection, and gradually I just started playing in bands in junior high and high school. And then my junior year of high school, when I was 16, I got a scholarship to Berklee College of Music in Boston. And so I took my GED and moved to Boston in 82. And at the time I was the youngest student at the school because I'd skipped my senior year.
Wow.
Impressive.
And that's where I met, getting into the relationship parts, I met my dearest friend, Al Petrelli, who is now the musical director of TSO, Trans-Siberian Orchestra. But at the time, we were students at Berklee, and we used to jam together all the time. And eventually in 89, he became the musical director for Alice Cooper on the Trash Tour. And Al vouched for me and got me an audition, and I ended up getting hired for the gig. And that's where it all started in 89.
Now, I got to say, I noticed like Don Airey,
Alice.
sorry, I noticed Don Airey and Claude Schnell aren't really inspired you at all. It was more guitar players. So
No, I was inspired by keyboard players, but I was inspired by like the great guys like Emerson and John Lord and Jan Hammer. You know, all those guys that you mentioned they studied from like Emerson and those guys. So, but they weren't those were pretty much my keyboard influences. But otherwise, guitar players, Eddie Van Halen, Randy Rhoads, Yngwie, Allan Holdsworth, Michael Schenker, guys like that, I really identified with their styles and the way that they, just their signature style on their instrument. Even though they weren't keyboard players, it was just a way that they approached their instrument and a spirit.
Totally.
Yeah.
I must have just missed you at Berklee, or maybe we overlapped by 1 year because I went 88 to 92.
And I was way out. I was out by 85. I was gone.
Yeah, got it. And I know that at least when I was going there, Berklee was very much progressive jazz kind of thing. And so what were you always like a rock guy? Was that always like, I'll do some of this progressive jazz? Because I felt like when I was going to Berklee, I really had to push to be like in rock bands. It was like it was all about the jazz kind of situation there.
Well, it totally was. It's a total jazz-based school.
Yeah.
And so the way I looked at it was I had no intentions of arranging for horns or being in jazz band or doing their ensemble ratings. They used to have a thing at Berklee where you would have to go in front of a panel of teachers, and they would give you what was called an ensemble rating. They would rate you on your sight reading ability, how you would improvise over changes, or whatever other criteria that they had. And to me, I never even took the test because I thought that was just bullshit. And I had no intentions of being a jazz guy. What I wanted to do was find the cream of the crop players of the style that I wanted to play, more rock, more fusion, and play with those people, and then learn the harmony and all the knowledge of the jazz so I can apply it to my style of music and not have to play real book tunes, is what it's called. There's this big jazz book called The Real Book that has all the jazz standards in it that all these guys go play at their piano bars or whatever it is they do.
Whatever it is they do. Yeah. But you were able to find some like-minded people there at Berklee that were also way into rock, right? And that is that
Al Petrelli, who had a great career with Alice Cooper, then Megadeth, for a while, and then Will Calhoun, drummer for Living Colour. Yeah, we used to play. All the three of us used to jam. I have cassette tapes of me, Al, and Calhoun jamming, and just a lot of us, and there's a lot of people that ended up having careers that were in our group afterwards. And so that was a good vibe. I just think that Berklee, there's total resources there, and you just have to take advantage of the curriculum and design it and tailor it to your needs, whatever that's going to be.
That's exactly what I tell people when they talk about Berklee too. I always say it is what you put into it. Like I went there and I was the guy that was borrowing and stealing studio time. You know, I would take the studio time at 3 o'clock in the morning, you know, when nobody.
Yeah. Cause you wanted to get the hours
Yeah.
behind the cockpit. You wanted to get your time in. Yeah. It's the only way to get the hours in. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. So you end up out there with Alice Cooper. That was kind of your first big gig, huh?
That was very thrilling, great time. And met my dear friend, Eric Singer. He ended up replacing Jonathan Mover midway through the tour. And I remember it was great because Eric was about 10 years older than the rest of us, or 10 years older than me, but he was older than the rest of the guys. And Eric had a little bit of a history before Alice. He had played in Lita Ford, and then he was just in a band, Badlands. And so when he came into Alice Cooper at the time had a hit album, Poison. The song was number 6 on the pop charts, and the Trash album was platinum. And there was like this huge buzz, and Alice hired all these rookie first year guys for the Trash band. So we're all like 23, 24, 25 years old, and we're on top of the world. All of a sudden we went from playing rock clubs to now we're on MTV playing Wembley Arena. Wow. And we're just excited. We're just like on top of the world. And so I remember when Eric got hired for the band, I remember saying to him, it was very funny because all of us had dark hair. With Alice, that was kind of like the vibe. And so Eric came in and had his long blonde hair. And so I remember when he got the gig, I said to Alice right away, I go, "You're going to make him dye his hair, aren't you, Alice?" And so Eric's like looking at me like, "You fucking little shit." And so he never had to dye his hair, but Eric and I always had a very much of a banter and shit stirring relationship right from the beginning. And so I remember after he got hired, I went to him and said, "Welcome to the big leagues." And here I am, this younger guy. It was just amazing. Perfect though, because it was.
I guess he grew out of that problem needing to color his hair. He doesn't seem to have a problem with that now, does he?
No, he doesn't now. But no, it's so funny though, because Eric and I, you ask him, even with all of the massive shit that he's done with Kiss, you ask him what was the most fun that he had on a tour, and he'll tell you that Alice Cooper Trash tour was just amazing, just because everyone was so fresh. No one was jaded. Like, you know how we all get jaded after a year or 2 or 3 or whatever. This was everyone's just like, this is before the AIDS epidemic, before the Magic Johnson in 91. So this was the final year of hair band.
Good times.
Before it all went to shit.
Boy, it did, didn't it? Quick. Yeah. Hilarious. So. But, Alice has had a great camp and a great career, obviously, for years.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, Toby and everybody that's been there. And, he's employed crews of all kinds and bands of all kinds for years, had some of the greatest musicians. You happen to be one of them. And some great times were to be had by all. We did the less successful, I'll just say, Hey Stupid tour together. And,
well, that was an interesting time because the Trash album was so successful and there was such a buzz, but it's really amazing how fast a genre and culturally things can change. Ooh. Like as soon as that Seattle music started coming out, it was fucking over, man.
We smelt that.
Dude, it was overnight.
It was like so fast.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I remember in LA, all of these bands that you would see play in the clubs and in BAM magazine, taking full page ads, trying to look like Guns N' Roses, because they'd already switched trying to look like Poison, then realized, no, we got to toughen up our look. Then all of a sudden, Seattle comes. Then all of a sudden, all these bands are like now putting on flannel and growing.
I think your connection is a little weird there, Derek. Maybe we lost him.
Mine is.
Oh yeah, now we got you back, I think.
All right. Yeah, so Seattle, that was a weird time, early 90s, 91, 92, 93.
Yeah, we'll put it that way. Yeah, that Smelled Like Teen Spirit definitely killed the what I like to call arena rock years. Arena rock kind of went away.
Yeah.
Nobody filled.
All of a sudden, Cherry Pie wasn't so edgy.
Yeah,
that's right.
I think, though, that killed it, though. If you think about it, is that it all stems, that whole LA hair metal thing, it stems from Van Halen.
Yeah.
And they were the first to come out. And then Quiet Riot had that big album, and everything was based off of that template. But then it just got more candy ass as time went on. It went from like something bitching like the first Van Halen record to Cherry Pie.
Yeah.
And then everything just got really glammy and cheesy. And then finally the kids just said, you know what? Fuck this. I want to hear some music with some edge to it.
Yeah.
That's more real.
Now I want to get it. We don't normally get into technical stuff on this, but I want to dive into technical stuff a couple times here. But the first I want to start with is one of my favorite instruments in rock, and I think it's to me it's almost gone away. Is the Leslie Hammond B3 combination? Don't seem to see it in these younger kid bands anymore. It's an important. There we go.
There it is.
Can you
and then there's my back there. I don't know if you can see it. There's my there's a B3 1963 Hammond B3 fruitwood finish, and this is my 1959 Hammond C3 big red.
Amazing.
So obviously, I was going to say, can you tell us the importance of that? Do you think, still valid in today's music?
Which I've used. It's always valid. This instrument is from 1959. So this is played in churches. It's played on rock records, gospel, blues gig. There are certain instruments that are timeless and that are always going to sound good and not be like, for instance, the best example is that you're always going to hear Hammond organ, piano in music. It's just a sound that's never going to get outdated. But if you listen to some of the keyboard sounds from the 80s, you can hear as soon as it comes on, like, oh, that's from 1987, like Axl or Beverly Hills Cop, like that kind of sounding music. You hear those Yamaha DX7 keyboards, and all of a sudden you get dated into that time. I try to, as a keyboard player, stay with sounds that are going to be timeless and not be something that I'm going to be embarrassed to listen back to a record and go, oh God, I couldn't believe I used that sound because that was popular at the time. And it didn't stand the test of time. So back to the topic on the Hammond organ, it's always going to sound great, not only for jazz, for rock, hard rock, but jazz, blues, gospel, everything. It's killer.
Love to hear that, because one of my favorite I don't want to say instruments, I don't play it. One of my favorite sounds that comes off the stage is always a Hammond and Leslie combination. Obviously,
it owns the room. Like as soon as people, I can't tell you how many times after on the Sons of Apollo tour, I'm bringing out the real Leslie, and I bring out two actually, my B3, and going through two Leslies. It just fills up the room, and it's just so massive sounding. And I do this in my keyboard solo spot. I do this 9-minute epic solo that starts off with the first portion of it is all on B3, a la like John Lord.
Nice.
And it's fucking killer, man. I love it. I think that if you're a hard rock keyboard player and you don't have that keyboard in your sound, you're not even in the game.
That's some more good advice. Now, speaking of, I want to go in a little more in your setup, because people research you and see you lot on the internet. You play with so many great people, and not only great, super talented other musicians. What is the reasoning, which I think looks comfortable, of the angled kind of 45 keyboard in front of you?
Well, I used to do that. I did it recently as like 2-3 years ago for a couple shows, but I used to do it because I hated seeing pictures, like when you see the photos of a keyboard player playing, but you don't see his hands on the keys. You just see some guy playing a desk or a pinball machine or whatever, but you don't see the hands. And that's one of the things that with guitar, you see the connection, the hand striking the note. You see the drummer hitting. And I think that it's important for people to see the keyboards player's hands. That's the first and the most thing. So no matter where you're sitting in the venue, you can see the hands. And I thought it had a cool look to it. But honestly, it really has messed up my posture, I think. And no, it's like my back is kind of messed up. And I don't know if it's from that, but I haven't been playing that style. I just play normal. No. But it was funny when I started doing that, shortly afterwards, a lot of people were doing that tilted stand. I'm not the first one to do it, but I remember that after I did a couple ads for Nord at the time and had those in the full page keyboard ads. And shortly after, a lot of people were lifting that.
But I love, I mean, especially the type of music you play in the bands you've played in, you draw a lot of a musician, techie crowd, right? Guys that other musicians are coming to see your show. So I love that theory of looking at your hands. You're right. You see the guitar player, you see the drummer, you see the bass player, and then the keyboard player, you don't get that visual. I think that's a great
connection. Yeah, the connection.
Yeah, love it. Awesome. Speaking of gigs, real quick, I just want to touch on this one. It's a little obscure gig you did. I want to hear the background and all that stuff. And I think since his passing, a lot of people have probably watched it. Is the Backyard Eddie Van Halen gig you played at? Tell us who was in the band, because there's some great guys, and I'll let you mention them, and how the gig came about, and was it a lot of fun? Did it suck? Just tell us about it.
Well, that was a very special night and event for me, and I want to thank my friend Stefan Adika, who made that happen. Stefan had a band called the Star Effers that used to play a club called the Cat Club on Sunset Strip, and it was John Karabi, Eric Dover, Brian Tishy was on drums. It would have rotating musicians, but at the time it was those players. And Stefan was on bass. And Van Halen, Edward was doing soundtrack for this porn movie at the time. And they did the movie release party at Ed's house. And at the time, who is now the woman who was his wife now, but at the time was his girlfriend, Janie, was in charge of booking the talent. And so she somehow saw Stefan playing at the Cat Club and said, this would be a great band to play this party. And so Stefan knew how big of a Van Halen fan I was. And he said, Derek, you have to get on this gig. So that's how it all started. So the day before, it was originally supposed to be Billy Idol was going to play on that gig also. So Billy, all of us came down to Ed's house for the day before on the rehearsal, and Billy was there, and Edward was, it was just so surreal seeing him, and it was fucking amazing. And so at first, Eddie wasn't supposed to play, but then he heard the band. He goes, I want to play. And he gets his guitar in. And I go, fuck yeah, this is awesome. And so Billy ended up not doing the gig, but we ended up doing 5 songs with Ed. Ain't Talking About Love, Jump, You Really Got Me. And then he played Eruption. And I think we played a couple other jams or whatever. But it was really awesome. One of the highlights for me was before the show, somehow Edward, Brian Tishy, and I went up to his studio, 5150, and it was probably for about 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And he was just telling us stories and showing us the studio. And even though there was all these people down where the band was playing, and you have to walk up this hill a little bit to get to the studio, we ended up there, and it was just like, wow, this is fucking amazing. And if I would have known as a young kid, as such a Van Halen fan, that I would ever be here in the studio. I wouldn't have believed it. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing. I got to work with them briefly, and I too was a huge Van Halen fan, growing up, and I had the same experience, like, oh my God, if I had told my young self, like, hey, in a few years you're going to be hanging out with Eddie Van Halen, I'd be like, Jesus.
No, and it's something just different with him. I've worked with a lot of my heroes through the years. I mean, I could go down the list of these people. I mean, Kiss, Gene and Paul were massive. Steve Vai, Billy Sheehan, Al Di Meola. I can go down the list of players. For what he represented.
We're kind of losing you there, Derek, but
in my life, it was just.
Oh, we got you back now.
Can you see me?
Yep. Okay.
No, it was a great experience, and it was definitely a bucket list moment. And I'm glad there's pictures and there's a couple clips on YouTube that are there to document it. So it's pretty awesome.
You've worked with all these amazing musicians and had these opportunities. How do you speak to the young kid that's starting out in this industry now? How did you put yourself in those places? Like, how did that happen?
You just have to make it happen, and you have to believe in yourself. You can be the nicest guy in the world. Ah, shucks, I just like to play, and you can schmooze and not have any rough edges to your personality. But if you fucking suck and you don't have the goods, you can be the schmooziest motherfucker in the world, and you're not going to get shit. Conversely, you can have some attitude and people can go, oh, he's a dick or whatever, or blah, blah, blah. But if you have the goods and you believe in yourself and you impose your musical will on the world rather than, oh, shucks, I'm waiting for my opportunity. You just have to make sure that you're just such a badass that people cannot deny it and just make it happen.
Love that.
That's how I've lived my whole life, and I've been criticized for it, but you know what? Fuck you. It doesn't matter because the bottom line is look at who I've played with. The proof is in the pudding.
That's great, man. Good for you.
It's a very impressive list. There's no doubt about that at all.
Yeah. Good for you. I think there's a lot of people.
It all comes down to the chops. It comes down to how badass are you.
Oh, shit.
I lost you. Hello?
Yep. There you are. Yeah. I mean, it does. I always tell people that, in order to get the opportunity to show that you're a badass, you can't be a dick. You know what I mean? You have to get along with people and be that guy. But when you get that chance, you better fucking deliver, right?
You have to.
Yeah.
You have to. Because, look, there's a certain level of playing that there's just no room for bullshit.
That's right. There's too many people out there that would love to be in the same position that you are in, and you have to be better than those people and deliver,
Yep.
So,
are you playing with Billy Idol?
I'm sorry?
Are you still playing with Billy Idol?
No, not for 8-10 years almost.
Oh, it's been that long. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I had a great experience with the bass player, and I kind of forget his name. It's Steve
McGrath.
Steve McGrath. Yeah. I've always wanted. I've never really seen him again. I always wanted to reach out and talk to him and thank him. I had to do monitors for Tom Petty one time, and filling in. And Steve came in and helped me, and I'm not even sure why he was there. To tell you the truth, looking back on it now, I always wanted to re-thank him and reconnect. He was just super cool. Maybe he was.
He's as great as they come, man. I can give you his information if you want to reach him.
Yeah, I just always want to say thanks again, and I always hope I run into him. He was so nice. So
yeah. Totally.
So tell us a little bit. You mentioned it just for a minute there, but you actually were on the Revenge tour, right, for Kiss?
That's right. Yes. Tell
us a little bit of how that was.
Well, that was very cool. At the time, Alice was taking some time off. I think he just had his daughter, and so he was taking a year off, and everyone was kind of hesitant to go out because of the whole Seattle thing that came out. But Kiss had their record Revenge out, and I thought it was a really, really good record. Wow. Eric Singer at that point was the drummer and brought me in, vouched for me, and I started rehearsing with them, and it was very cool for a month, that just being around those guys and watching how they ran their show and ran their band and everything. And I found Gene and Paul were very funny guys, man. They're very clever and witty, and they like to have fun, but they're serious cats. They take care of business, but it's very fast paced, and I liked it. I thought it was cool. I liked those guys.
Now, I knew you took that gig probably because of your love of Kiss and wanted to hang out with Eric and everything and be out there, but obviously that wasn't tapping your talents at all, I'm sure.
No, but there was stuff to learn from that situation, and so I really just embraced all the positives.
Right. So you just take in other stuff out there, and especially you saw them, how they operated their business and ran their stuff. There's a lot of, even though it didn't tap your talents as a keyboard player, you learned a lot of stuff out there, I'm sure.
Amazing. I wouldn't trade that experience for anything. I'm very grateful.
It's funny, the three of us have all worked for that band, and we all have gained interesting perspectives. At least I had from working for those guys. I worked for them for about 4 years, and man, they're just Gene and Paul are amazing businessmen. And if you don't learn anything about the way to run business by watching them, I don't know who else you're going to learn from.
Yeah, for sure. Not even just business, just a study in efficiency and work ethic.
Yes.
Just the way they conduct themselves. It's just no bullshit. It's like, take care of business. And Gene and Paul, if you look at it, those two self-admittedly aren't these virtuoso, huge talent. They have figured out it through their work ethic, their vision, and their discipline. They have made shit happen. And Gene and Paul have always been, even before I started playing professionally, I always viewed them as role models of how to be, if you're going to have a successful music career. You want to be like those guys, not the junkie hippie musician from the 60s that doesn't pay attention to business and blows all his money.
And speaking of business, especially in the times we're in now, maybe you give some advice to the working musician out there. Do you have any? I know you're obviously constantly working on music, but is it always songs? Are you doing any commercials or any kind of stuff other than songwriting for recording with the band? Jingles, any kind of stuff like that?
I'm not, but I'm open to it. So if anyone that is doing that kind of stuff wants to give me that opportunity, I'd love it. I'd love to do scoring and jingles, but that's just not really the world that I'm in.
Because I know Fred Curry, right? A Cinderella, doesn't he do a lot of that stuff?
He really is. And I think it's amazing how Fred has been able to transition into doing that. And he's done very, very well. Fred's a good friend of mine. I'm very happy for him.
Yeah. He's also a great singer, by the way. I know he's a great singer.
Yeah. That's what I've heard. I haven't heard that. So
really great singer, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. So strictly writing songs right now, staying busy with that.
Always making a new, I had a few releases this year that came out. Sons of Apollo 2020 came out in January. And then my solo record, The Phoenix, came out in September. And then I played on 2 Whitesnake records, Love Songs and the White Album, which came out this year. And then I played on the new Michael Schenker record, Immortal, which is coming out in January. And I played on the lead-off single, video that came out a couple weeks ago, and started a new cool relationship with Michael Schenker, which is great. He's going to be playing on my next solo record, which I'm working on now.
So just adding another legend to that list you already have.
You got to keep it going. And on top of it, I have a couple other great legendary players that I've never recorded with before that are going to be on my next record, but I'm going to reveal that later. But for now, I'll reveal Michael Schenker.
Fantastic. Here we got
That's awesome.
First time ever in 30 episodes, we got a breaking news story. I like it.
Yeah.
Breaking, you heard it here.
Cool. And Simon Phillips will be on drums again too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess in your world, I guess it is in our world with the roadie world, or the musician world is the same. I mean, you guys all want to be around the top players, and that's what's going on with you. That's why you're working with the top guitar players, top drummer. You talk Simon Phillips, come on. You know, you're with all the top people. You guys all want to be together and work together because you all know you're awesome at your craft, I'm sure.
Birds of a feather.
There you go. That's what I wanted to hear. So speaking of birds of a feather, I want to get back to the road life thing. You've done so many bands, so many gigs, and there's only one Derek Sherinian. I want to hear about people you've had to cover and people that have covered you. And I'm going to add on to that question. Is there if somebody covers for you or covers for somebody else, is there an etiquette like we have? Is there unwritten rules you don't do? All that kind of stuff. If you're filling in or that person filling in for you.
I don't know. I really don't. I haven't had to fill in. It's you're either replacing someone or someone's replacing you. It's never been like, hey, someone's sick for a couple gigs. Can you do this? Like you hear that a lot of times for drummers or guitar players. I've never had to do a fill-in situation. I guess the etiquette would be common sense. You know, if it's someone's gig and you're doing a fill-in slot, you have to honor the situation and honor the guy's position that you're filling in for.
Yeah, so standard etiquette applies.
Standard etiquette. So I'm curious, what sort of style of rock keyboard playing is something that you would prefer to play? So for instance, you know, there was that style there for a while that was like Jens Johansson, you know, Yngwie, where it was a keyboard, but it was kind of like a guitar too, you know?
Yeah.
And there was, you know, lots of leads and that kind of stuff. Or do you prefer to be the kind of, I know obviously in your band, you want to be up front and be that guy, but like in bands, do you prefer to be the behind the scenes guy, or do you want to be up front like the guitar player, lead guitar player?
No, I'm a lead keyboard player. Absolutely.
Awesome.
I love those Yngwie records. I played with Yngwie too. And Jens Johansson, as you just said, I think is amazing. He's like the one keyboard player that I really, really think is great, you know, in rock today. I think he's killer. But that's like a huge part of my style is the leads. But then I also do it all. I do Hammond B3 and I do piano and I do all the other synths. I basically try to take the best of all the things I like about all the different keyboard players and all the different styles, take the best qualities of all of it and put it into my own deal. And then that's who I am.
Cool.
It's great at Jens, but what about a younger bands? Let's and I say younger, let's just go past 10 years. Who do you think is in a newer band, rising keyboard guy?
I don't know. I haven't heard any.
That's why I asked you, because I haven't really heard it either. And that's why I kind of brought up the importance of these.
I don't know that I'm the right guy to have. I mean, look, if someone's really generating a lot of heat, I'll hear about it, you know, through some way, whether it's on Instagram or something, or there you see them in the reader polls or whatever. But no, I'm sure they're out there. I just haven't heard it.
Us 66 models, I guess, aren't getting all the newer stuff in front of us. But
Are you born in 66?
Yeah, 66 models. So that's what I thought. I just the music or the newer music I hear of the bands, I just don't. I think it's the B3 and the keyboard is a little bit of a lost thing in these newer bands. And maybe I was wishing somebody would bring it back, but you know, maybe the kids don't care. I don't know.
I'll do it. I think that's what's really cool is after doing the work with David Coverdale, he's been doing a lot of press to promote these new Whitesnake records. And he's talking about my involvement. He's saying Derek Sherinian sounds like the illegitimate son of John Lord. he brings the fire in that same way to the Hammond organ, and I needed that. He had me replace all the keyboards on 2 old Whitesnake records, on Slip of the Tongue and Restless Heart, because he didn't like the way that those 80s, the cheesy sounds on it, and he wanted that John Lord Hammond sound and more modern. So I replaced all those keys, and all of those, all my work is showing up on the compilation records, that White Album, Love Songs, and then there's another one coming out that I played on next year called the Blues Album, which is more bluesy based. A lot of B3s, but there's a lot of B3 on all the Whitesnake stuff. That's what David wanted, and that's fine with me because I love it.
And are you going to play with them live at all? Maybe.
No plans.
No plans.
But David loves. I mean, I'll play for David anytime on recording or whatever he needs, you know. And he usually calls me when he's tracking. So.
Oh, that's fantastic. Especially, obviously, someone that has worked with John Lord, and now.
Oh man, that's like being knighted. And also, Glenn Hughes gives me those same props too, because he played with John Lord as well. So I figure if 2 guys from Deep Purple can give me the nod, then I'll
then you're
that.
doing pretty good. Yeah.
I'll take that. No problem.
Glenn's amazing, man. I've worked with him a couple of times on his little side project stuff, and he's amazing.
Great
player. Yeah.
One of the a treasure.
I want to try to do something real quick that I didn't know. I'm not familiar with Joe Bonamassa at all. I don't know what kind of his background and where he came from, and he seems to be one hell of a popular guitar player now. And you've obviously played with him in the Black Country Communion, right?
Yes, and then also on his solo career. Well, he has a new documentary out that just came out last week that Paramount Pictures put out about his amazing rise and career. But in a nutshell, Joe was a young blues prodigy from upstate New York that started very early in his life, started playing gigs at 12, 13, 14 years old, and just built up this amazing talent. And slowly, he and his partner, Roy Weissman, who's his manager, business, and just built this empire. And Joe today is the top blues guitarist out there. Very business wise, and it's just having an amazing career. And he put together Black Country Communion in 2010 with Glenn Hughes, Jason Bonham, and myself, and we've put out 4 records, and we're planning on putting out another record in next year. So I'm excited about that.
Fantastic. And then let me just get one more, and I guess we usually talk about relationships, but I'm geeking out because you have such an impressive resume, and I know Allan Holdsworth's on there. Just give us how was that quick? I know he's no longer with us, but once again, another.
That must have been amazing. Yeah.
So there's levels to this stuff, and there's levels to talent, and there's levels to wow factor as far as fame. And Allan Holdsworth, to me, along with guys like Simon Phillips, are just at the very, very top of the food chain. And Allan is was this amazing talent that I don't think that we'll see in many generations. I just think he's that much of like an Einstein or Tesla, but on music. Yeah. And so fortunately I was able to meet and connect with Allan like around 2003. And he played on my Mythology album, a song called Day of the Dead, with Zakk Wylde and Holdsworth on the same track.
Wow.
And to this day, a lot of hardcore Holdsworth fans, and there's like it's like a Star Trek. There's a cult, this Holdsworth cult of players, and they rate his solo on Day of the Dead as one of his top 5 solos of all time, which I'm just, it's one of my proudest achievements, is having to be on tape with Allan Holdsworth, to be documented, to be with this guy. And he's also played on a record for my band Planet X. So I'm on a couple records with Allan.
Unbelievable. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's
That's
amazing.
cool as it gets right there in my world.
Yeah.
Excellent. So good. Let me
Yeah.
ask you real quick. Your kids, are they any budding musicians there?
My kids have musical talent, but they're not going to take that path, which I'm fine with, especially now. I mean, I wouldn't want to be a musician or try to be a touring
build your
musician
career. Yeah, right now. Ooh.
doing all this stuff. But no, my kids love music. My son's name is Halen, so I tried to lean him in that direction.
But
That's awesome.
You're not doing it, huh? Not yet?
Nah.
Okay.
No, I don't think it's going to happen. But
The only reason and did your parents, I forgot to ask, I want to ask you, when you said your mom said she saw you on the TV.
no, my mom was a school teacher and my dad was an attorney. And so there was no musicians in my family at all. I kind of just figured it out.
That's quite a feat. I mean, lately you see, Tiger Woods' young kid, they're playing golf better than him. And usually you need a little gene, a little bit in there somewhere, especially your talent level. I'm not talking playing the keyboard. I'm talking about your talent level playing with the best other musicians in the business. I'm very surprised that the parents or sisters or brothers older didn't do that.
Determination is a powerful thing.
Sure is.
That's
For
a
sure.
good lesson for people out there is that, right, hard work and determination.
Yeah.
Hey, I wish I had a famous father. I mean, that would have been.
It helps.
Look, there's people. I've grown up. I know a lot of people that have celebrity parents, and I work with people like, for instance, Jason Bonham, his father, having John Bonham.
Yeah.
Wow, I don't want to miss this.
I know.
Father than John Bonham, but for Jason, he has really developed his own voice on the drums and is a great drummer in his own right. And even if his last name was McGonagall, you can't say that Jason Bonham isn't one of the great rock drummers out there. And so I really applaud that. And I think there's other people that we've seen that are children of the celebrities that the fruit kind of fell off the cliff and not close to the tree. So that's always fun to watch too.
It is for sure.
Just going back to the Van Halen thing, the Wolf Van Halen stuff is incredible. So obviously,
Yeah, Wolfie's great. He's great.
He got some.
He did love his son very much. That's awesome.
Yeah. So cool. So cool.
Did you or are you involved? I know as a keyboard player, there's a lot of keyboard players that get involved in sound making and soundscape building and working with manufacturers to build, sounds. Are you into that at all, or are you just like, eh?
I just do my sounds and put them on record and whatever. I don't do that.
Is there particular keyboards that you find yourself going back to all the time that are like your faves?
Yeah. Well, I like this Memory Moog here is 1982. This is a badass keyboard. It's just fat analog. And then my Nords up there,
Cool.
I use for my soloing the Nord 3 a lot through the amps. Then my Fender Rhodes 74, Suitcase Mellotron, Korg, my Wurlitzer 2000A, that's like from 72, Hohner, Clavinet, Hammond B3, Mini Moog up there, Leslie's. I mean, I just use my
Those are
primary
your
colors.
staples, right? Those are your
And I go through amps, and I don't get too cute with like gadgets and Tinkerbell type sounds. Everything needs to be very heavy and killer. And that's the thing, like keyboards are a slippery slope in
Right.
rock music.
Oh shit!
Oh no, we've lost him.
Oh, and I want him to get right back on that.
Oh no.
Keyboards are a slippery slope. I don't want to hear that. Maybe
Hopefully he'll sign back in here in a minute.
yeah.
Anyway, amazing. He's such a talent and an amazing thing. I guess I didn't realize from my perspective how much he leans on older technology and analog synths, and I thought he was a little more into some of the newer stuff, which I want to ask him about if he comes back here.
Yeah,
But
definitely an older school approach, and that's why I kind of wanted to ask him about the Nords also, because
yeah.
that's a little bit newer school, and I see.
Those are definitely like I see cats all the time. Those are like the solo synths. Those are like when it's time to get out, get your chops out there soloing. Those are like the sounds they use.
Because I know Mike was using just lately, just using
Yeah.
that single Nord. Oh, he had a what's that small white keyboard? He always had that little one.
Yeah, I forget.
There
There
he
he
is.
is.
Oh,
Oh,
just
you're muted there.
Hey,
Still.
you're muted.
You're still muted, Derek.
There we go.
There we go.
How's that?
There you are.
So
Now, just to finish my point, so
Yeah.
keyboards in rock music, especially hard rock music, is a very slippery slope because you can have a killer rock band, you put the wrong keyboards on it, and it takes it down Cheese Street, like
Totally.
right out of the chute. It ruins it. And so, I've always been very sensitive to that. Growing up, I never wanted to be accused of having cheesy keyboard sounds or detracting from the heaviness. You're either adding to the heaviness or you're taking away from it. And so I'm very much trying to add to the heaviness. And that's why you have to use Hammond B3, John Lord. That's the most kick-ass fucking rock sound. And so
when you find yourself at the NAMM show and you're walking through the whole nightmare of soundscape, whatever the latest, greatest thing is, that's not your thing at all, right? Like you walk
well,
up.
if there's a new keyboard out that I want to check out, I'll usually just go directly to the company and
Right.
try to get like a private screening rather than walk through the mayhem, because you can't
tell anyway at the NAMM show.
I don't think you're going to be seeing any more of those shows. I think that's a done.
You think so?
oh,
Shit.
I think so. I think it's going to be way lower.
your mic's frizzling up too. Pooch.
Yeah, we keep losing you. Cool.
I don't want to walk through that cymbal aisle anymore. So
Oh my God.
Yeah, the drum aisle is like that's hell on earth for me. The cymbal section. Oh wow. Jeez.
Oh, it's heinous.
Guys, is
there we go.
Oh, there we go.
that better?
Yeah.
Now we got
I'm
you.
moving around. I'm getting out of this location.
We were just saying we didn't want to walk down that cymbal aisle anyways anymore. So I don't blame you.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
let me ask one question.
It's horrible.
What about why the Nord? Why is the Nord so popular right now?
They do. The Nord I use.
Well.
I gotta. There he goes. There he is.
You there?
Yep.
Okay. Now we got you. We keep losing you. But I tell you what, our hour is up here for our live stream. Let's go to our Q&A section. We've got a couple of questions
A lot of dreams here.
that viewers have asked, and hopefully we can pick that up and
Okay, great.
get there. Thank you so much for coming, Derek. It's amazing that you could give a little bit of your time and talk about stuff, and we'll try to get into a few more questions here when we get to the question and answer. So thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
They're great to see you.
So we are dark next week for Christmas vacation, guys. So enjoy Christmas this weekend, and next Tuesday there is no Wrong End of the Snake. 2 weeks from today, January 5th, on Wrong End of the Snake, it's Pete Merluzzi.
I love Pete.
Pete is the tour manager and a tour accountant for some of the biggest bands in the world, Guns N' Roses, Slash. He's done them all. So tune in for that. He has a really unique perspective. He's also a manager of several rock bands, and so he's got a really unique perspective on the business. So tune in for that. Also, we're still trying to get our elected officials to listen to us. Right now, we are collateral damage. They just passed a little bit of help for us, but the Restart Act was not included in the current bill that was just passed. So we need to keep hitting up our congressmen and Senate, and many of us are independent contractors or we own small businesses that have not had income since March. So please go to extendpua.org, wemakeevents.org, NAMM.org, and for help with mental health and well-being, theroadieclinic.com. Keep the pressure on, contact your representatives in the House and Senate, and remind them about our forgotten industry and ask them to include Restart Act in this next, bills that are coming out. So thanks a lot for tuning in, guys. We sure do appreciate it, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Merry Christmas to you all. Happy holidays. Take care.
Thank you.